Today I want to show you something pretty cool, which is going to be a way to win the game on turn 1 in a mono red deck. And the commander we're going to be using for this deck is Magda Brazen Outlaw. Now, if you're not familiar with this card, it's kind of a busted commander because he can do things like this. But let's take a look at it. So it costs 2 mana, 1 in a red. It's a legendary creature, Dwarf Berserker, 2/1. Other dwarves they control get +1/+0. We don't really care about that for the combo. However, whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. Also, you can sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or a dragon card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So we're going to take advantage of these two abilities to make a whole bunch of treasures and then tutor out our combo pieces out of our library. So this is basically a 3-card combo. Magda is one part. Here is one of the other key parts, Clock of Omens. 4 mana artifact. It says tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, untap target artifact. So the third piece we'll need is an artifact dwarf. And fortunately, there's one that costs just 1 mana in Universal Automaton. It's a shapeshifter, so it's every creature type, dwarf included. So if we have these 3 cards in play, we can make infinite treasures and tutor out any artifacts or dragons out of our deck, meaning we can get any combo pieces we need and just win. But in order to play these 3 cards on turn 1, we're going to need to make quite a bit of mana. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll need 7 mana on turn 1. That is possible to do though. So the way we're going to get 7 mana on turn 1 is with these 3 cards right here. We need a land, a mana crypt, and a Jessica's Will. So basically you'll just go land, mana crypt, there's your 3 mana, you need to cast Jessica's Will, cast this targeting opponent who will have 7 cards in their hand, and then you get 7 mana. So the cards which you need in your opening hand are going to be these 4. You don't actually need the land because this can be replaced by anything that can produce a mana. So you could use something like a Lotus Petal or maybe a Simian Spirit Guide. Either of those would do, so there are some alternatives to this. Anyway, we're going to do it the easy way for this video. So we'll go turn 1, land, mana crypt. We have 3 mana, so we'll pay 3 to Jessica's Will. Get 7 red. We're going to spend the 7 red on Clock of Omens, that's 4, Magda is 2, and our remaining one on Universal Automaton. So now we have basically our full combo in play. What this will allow us to do is make infinite treasures and tutor out to the battlefield infinite artifacts or dragons from our deck. So how we do that is we use Clock of Omens ability, tap 2 untapped artifact you control to untap target artifact. We're going to tap these 2 artifacts and target Universal Automaton to untap it. So we tap these 2. When this taps, since it's a dwarf, it triggers Magda and it makes a treasure. Then the Clock of Omens ability resolves and we untap the artifact. This is untapped now. We just do that again. We'll tap these 2 artifacts to untap the Universal Automaton, trigger Magda again, get a treasure. This resolves, we untap this, and we can do that an infinite number of times. And for every 5 treasures we have, we can use Magda's other ability to look through our library for an artifact or dragon and put it into play. So once we have infinite treasures, we're going to sacrifice 5 of those, look through our library for this card right here, Altar of the Brood. It says, whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. So once you have this in play, you just make infinite treasures and your opponents mill their entire deck. There are actually many ways to combo out with Magda though. I think this is the easiest one, but I'll show you another one. You could also get this card, Reckless Fireweaver. This isn't a dragon, so you would think you can't tutor this out. However, you can though, because what you do is first tutor out this card, Maskwood Nexus. It says, creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So that means that all the creatures in your library are now dragons, so you can tutor them out with Magda. So since this would be a dragon, just grab your Reckless Fireweaver and put that into play. It says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Reckless Fireweaver deals 1 damage to each opponent. So with that in play, you could just make another infinite amount of treasures and ping your opponents to death. So that's how you can win with Magda on turn 1, and it's actually not that difficult. Like I said, you only need 4 specific cards. And, you know, if you get into turn 2, yes, it's not a turn 1 win, but turn 2 is still quite early. It just becomes that much easier because you have things like an extra land to work with, an extra draw step. This is a very powerful commander, and when I built this deck, I built it wanting to make a cool dwarf tribal deck, but I soon realized that oh, no, this is just a combo deck. But regardless, it's very powerful and surprisingly reliable. So that's what I wanted to show you today. I think this is the fastest way to combo out with Magda, but if there's something I'm missing, feel free to leave it in the comments. And there's probably lots of other ways to combo out as well that I hadn't even considered because Magda essentially gives you access to put any creature or artifact from your deck into play, so there's so many different opportunities with that. So if you're still watching though, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. I'd encourage everyone to come join my Discord server. You can find a link to that in the video description below. I'd also like to thank all the patrons who support me on Patreon. And also, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards you see in this video, or any other cards for that matter, you can find those by going to the sponsor of this channel, Face to Face Games. Use code 8thPlayStave to save 5% on your order at Face to Face Games, Canada's largest Magic the Gathering store, where qualified orders receive free shipping Canada-wide. Support the channel and visit face2facegames.com today.